Hi, this is Shane Davis from Youngstown State University here with Figure It Out Baseball. Tonight I'm going to talk to you about the first of two terms that are going to build upon the Triangle of Meaning video. If you haven't seen that video yet, I recommend you hitting back on your browser, checking that out, and coming back to this. The first term that we're going to talk about in this video is salience. Salience is simply defined in the communication sense as what is important to you. Now, if you remember from the Triangle of Meaning, we have a thought, we have symbols, which is our words, and then we have a referent. And the example I used was a dog. So my thought was, I want a dog. I say I want a dog. And my players, students, kids, whoever I'm talking to, they hear dog and they're going to picture something in their head. And in the Triangle of Meaning video, I talked about trying to figure out what type of dog they are picturing when you say dog. The type of dog that they're picturing is a lot of times going to be based on these two terms that I'm going to talk about in this video. It's salience. What brought me to doing this video tonight is I am currently at a pitching convention in Nashville. It's Saturday night. It started last night, so Friday, and it's done tomorrow. Essentially, this convention is about 24 to 26 hours of straight pitching. It's called Pitchapalooza. It's a great event. I started thinking of how many of my friends back home and people I grew up with would be able to dedicate an entire Saturday and stay locked in watching people speak and talking to people about, the art of pitching. And then it got me to think, well, I wouldn't expect any of them because this has great salience to me. It's really important to me, so I'm more likely to be locked in. In academic sense, if you think back maybe to when you were in high school, certain books that you read, you probably can still recall. For me, All Quiet on the Western Front is a book that I read in high school because it dealt with war. I was always into Civil War, World War I, World War II, whatever. Other books we read, like The Scarlet Letter, I couldn't tell you anything about that book because that's not anything I was into. So where this is going to get into coaching for us is thinking back at those books that you read in high school. The reason that you're still able to recall that stuff is because that topic had salience to you. It was something important. So when you heard it, and when you read it and saw what it was about, your antenna perked up and you were locked in. Whereas, the other books you might not have been into, you just kind of didn't pay attention. So in a coaching sense, we need to get into our players' heads, get to know them a little bit, understand what makes them tick, understand what's important to them. Because, baseball is really important to all of us. A lot of us, this is our livelihood. It's not for our players. If you're at the high school or college level, your players are already thinking about what they want to do when they graduate from college, what they want to do when they go to college, if you're coaching in high school. So those are other things that are really important to them. And our goal as coaches is to get our players to retain what we're trying to work with them about. It doesn't matter which aspect of the game. And we've all coached players that, we coach them up and maybe it's just straight baseball. We're just coaching them up, doing drills, using our typical cues that we use. And, they're fine when we're working with them. We go home for the night, come back, and it's like you didn't do anything the day before. And a lot of that has to do with your players, just didn't retain what you worked on with them. But if we're able to get to know our players as people and get to know their interests, maybe we can combine what we're trying to say with something else that is of interest to them. For example, if you're a college or high school coach and you've got somebody that's, wants to be an astronaut and he's really into math, physics, whatever, you might want to talk more in mathematical terms with them. Where if you've got somebody that's into kinesiology or really into lifting or wants to be a PE teacher, talk more in a biomechanical sense. I've even talked to a player before about performance anxiety and getting over performance anxiety, relating it to Thomas Jefferson, who was afraid to talk in front of people and would actually write stuff out to send to Congress and send it off. And the reason I brought that up with that player is he told me that was one of the people that he looked up to. He was involved in our college Democrats on our campus, and I asked him who he looked up to, and he said Thomas Jefferson is one of his people. We connected that with him trying to get over different anxieties that he had, and understanding that people have those same problems. Whereas if I would have just told him, you know what, it's the same stuff everybody goes through, you're going to be fine, just learn how to breathe, he may not have retained it. It may not have been something that stuck with him. And I'm not saying that I was the reason that this happened, and I'm not saying that everything was fixed for him, but I would like to think that he did have some success after that point, partially because I was able to connect something really simple, which is, everybody deals with anxiety. It's how we handle it, with something that was really important to him, because, that had salience to him. Our players go home and they're studying and they're watching TV. They're interested in other things, and we can't expect them to be as locked in on baseball as us. Going all the way back to the triangle of meaning, if we want to figure out what the meanings are of words for our players, and if we want to be more effective and competent communicators with them, understanding what's important to them and being able to relate is going to be really, really important. And I don't want this to be misconstrued. I'm not saying you need to go home and study everything about everything and try to be an expert, but just try to be conversant on things that your players are interested in. Try to have a layman's grasp of things that your players are interested in outside of baseball, and try to bring that in. And, your players will have more fun, they'll retain things more, and they're going to be more locked in because you're bringing in other interests. Once again, this is Shane Davis with Figure It Out Baseball. Stay tuned for my next video when we deal with another term connected to the triangle of meaning, which is schemata.